Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Together We Battle podcast. And welcome back to the Roots of Growth series. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Jessica.
We are so glad you are with us, whether this is your first episode with us or you have followed along for all of the past 11. We are happy you're here. So, welcome, and we hope you enjoy this short practice. Before we dive into this week's practice, Nancy, let's quickly remind them what week 11's practice was, and they can always go back and listen to the full episode.
All right, week 11 was statio, a good Latin word for like standing or staying. And it was the idea of taking a small pause, a minute or more, between activities and just attending to what has been done or what will be done, or that space in between one or two things that you pick out for during your day. So for instance, getting in the car and just sitting there for a moment, getting yourself collected before you go off to your chores or work or whatever, or doing it on the way home, or even, for instance, putting your shoes on in the morning.
Yeah.
It's usually the last thing I put on. So I'm dressed, put on the shoes, and just sit for a minute. Hold that space.
And they can get more information if you all listen to week 11. So go back and listen. So for week 12, we only have a few more weeks left. This is so exciting. I am really excited about this series, really. It is called Press the Pause Button. So Nancy, if you would, go ahead and give the listeners some more information as well as a practice that could go along with this.
All right. You may have heard the name, maybe not, Viktor Frankl. He was an Austrian neurologist, psychologist, and Holocaust survivor. And he wrote this. It's a fairly famous quote. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. So he's talking about freedom as the ability to choose. So I'm going to go back, tell a story on myself. When my grandmother died, my son was, about 12 years old. And he was in his I'm only going to wear t-shirts phase. And I saw him in a t-shirt ready to go to the funeral, and I flipped my lid. I feel ashamed of how I just lit into him because I had gotten a button-down shirt and had ironed it. It was prepared, and I expected him to dress appropriately for a funeral. And I lost it. I just lost it. And I feel really bad. We eventually came to the point where he had to wear the button-down shirt to the church service, and he could take that shirt off after the church service ended.
Sounds
So
reasonable being a mom of two boys. I get it.
there was that great big red push me button on my chest, and he pushed it, and my emotions were triggered, and I went from stimulus, I'm ready, in the t-shirt, to response, no, you're not wearing that, in fractions of a second. And I was acting against my own values and my own strengths as a parent. So when those buttons get pushed, we can act against our values. And actually, this doesn't take long to do. Scientists have measured it. It's a quarter of a second between the stimulus and the flipping of our lids, if I can use that phrase.
Sounds exactly right. That sounds right.
This gap has a name. It's called the choice point. And so that's, going back to Viktor Frankl. In that space lies our power to choose. So adrenaline is coursing through our body. We're losing 50% of our brain function because of that. It's being diverted to our muscles to go into fight, flight, freeze, faint mode. It's a function of our older brain parts. So we've got 3 parts of the brain, and it's automatic. So we often don't realize that we have that choice point. And this is a practice that will pull us back to that choice point. And it's 4 steps. It's called the back model. We'll have one word with B, A, C, and K. I'll get there in a minute. And it's really critical to this. I'm just going to add this to the beginning. When something happens, to stay out of the head and the heart and to move into the body, because you're going to feel in the body those early signs of that push me button having been pushed. So is there a scrunching in your stomach? Are your shoulders tightening? Are they raising? What's happening with your head, your neck, your jaw? You may have other signs that are familiar. Maybe your hands tense. But if you attend to your body when that first little itty bit comes, you're in a much better place to recognize that that button has been activated. So here's what you need to do. B, like right away before the lid flips, breathe. 2 cycles of what's called 7-11 breathing. You count 7 on an inhale, and then you count 11 on the exhale. So squeeze all that air out. And you start this as soon as you have an awareness that the body is clicking into this freeze, fight, flight mode. This breathing is calming. So you're going to give yourself that opportunity to just lower the anxiety, the upset, the button push, flipping your lid thing. I love that phrase, flip your lid. And then acknowledge. You acknowledge that you're going to have a thought. So my thought was, oh my goodness, he cannot wear a t-shirt to the funeral. He just can't. So you acknowledge that. You could acknowledge a car is cutting in front of you in traffic. You could acknowledge this is an unreasonable customer. You can acknowledge a family member or friend or something, any situation which is push the button. You just acknowledge it. And it's really intriguing because once you acknowledge this thought, you're able better to allow it to dissipate. This is my thought. It's not that we're trying to ignore it, not that we're trying to push it away. We just say, yep, this is my thought. Just acknowledge it. And that will actually keep the ignoring and pushing away will keep coming back. Whereas if you acknowledge it, just let it flow through. And this is the choice point. At this point, we can ask, what would our best self do based on our strengths and values? What would our best self do? What's important to you? So it was important to me that my son dress appropriately, and important to me that I be compassionate in the moment because he lost a great grandmother, someone that he knew and visited often. We often did shopping with her weekly. So find 1 or 2 words. I want to be calm in this situation. That's a value. I want to be kind, compassionate. I want to be flexible. I want to have integrity. I want to have patience, tact, tolerance, whatever value that is. Choose the value in the moment. And then you kick into action. And if you need to, you fake it till you make it. The advice is to stay with the choice with some kind of confidence for the next 10 minutes. And that's enough that you need. So breathe, 7-11 breathing. Count 7 coming in, 11 going out. Do that twice. Then acknowledge the thoughts you're having. Just let it be. And then after that, choose what you can do based on your best self. So rather than flipping my lid at my child, I should have seen him, taken that breath, acknowledge that this is not appropriate attire for a funeral, and made a choice about how I was going to actually interact with him. I'm going to be calm and I'm going to talk about integrity and appropriate dress for the funeral and what my expectations are, and then allow him to want to wear the t-shirt, which then we came to a compromise. It would have been a compromise much quicker and with far less tears and upset. And then once you've got that choice, just kick into action. That's what you're going to do. That's how you're going to be. And but I can't underestimate, right, how important it is to be aware of your body. Because if you're not aware of your body, you're not going to get to that choice point. And that big red button is just going to continue to say, push me, push me. So the capacity to press pause is life changing.
It truly is. Truly is. I have been
Mm-hmm.
there in a season of life where I was constantly responding in that same way to our boys. And I think I shared this with you many times probably before, but we got to a place where I had been teaching our kids if you're frustrated with something, they were little. I'm frustrated because I broke a crayon, or I can't tie my shoes, or I can't find my favorite toy, my backpack's not zipping, whatever it was. I was working with them on pause, let's take a breath, let's regroup, and let's try again. And it seems very similar to your
Very
example.
similar.
And what was funny is years later, as they had gotten a little bit older, we were in this space where I was constantly running out the door in the morning and yelling not kind words to kids. They were little. My push button was pushed all day, every day. From the moment they woke up to the moment I went to bed, my button was pushed. And I had just hit that point in life where we were just in a tough season with these kids. And I remember the one morning, our oldest stopped me before we went running out the door for school. And he said, Mommy, I need you to put all your bags down and I need you to put your hands on mine. Because that's what we did. We would put hands on top of each other's and we would close our eyes and we would just take 3 deep breaths. And the moment he did that to me, it was like this awakening, like that awareness woke up and was like, what have you been doing?
Yeah, that's a great story. Every spiritual practice is about awareness. How am I going through life, and how do I stay centered in me? And that's precisely what this is. And how am I connecting with my values? I mean, that was the awakening for you, right? This
Yeah.
is not my values. This is not what I'm trying to teach them.
Yeah.
But
Nope.
that little red button that's right on the chest that has the big blaring light that says, push me.
I mean, there was just a steady hand on it all day, every day for a while. But that was a turning point for me personally, was that awareness of what is happening, not just with me, with how are our kids perceiving this, what's the energy in our home. All of that awareness started to compound, and I was like, whoa, self-reflection. I had to start making some changes for myself. And from that point forward, it has been a total life changer in our life, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Big difference. And like you
Oh,
said, it's such a quick thing where you can 0.25 of a second, right? Was what you referred to, is how
that's,
quickly.
yeah, how quickly we can flip our lid,
Mm-hmm.
lose it.
Yeah.
And it's a practice, but notice how you start, your breath.
Yeah.
Start with your breath.
Mm-hmm. I knew that.
Take
I
the
knew
breath.
better. I had enough background in the wellness industry that I knew if we could get our breath to slow, everything else would start to come together intentionally with awareness, and we could move forward with a better start to our day, or whatever it is for whoever's listening to this. If you're finding yourself hitting that push button, you might not have kids, you might be at work, you might, wherever
Oh,
you are in
yeah.
life, it could
Our
be
button
anywhere.
pushed. I mean, even think about driving, right? You get
Hmm.
cut off or something happens, and boom,
Yeah.
you can explode like that, and that energy goes out into the world.
Hmm.
It will enter the people that are in the vehicle with you.
Yeah.
So What's a bigger value to you? Okay, driver cut me off. I'm just going to take a couple breaths. I'm going to acknowledge that he cut me off, and I'd really rather that he hadn't. And what am I going to choose to do? I'm going to choose to keep driving safely because driving safely is important for me.
That is it. The awareness of your next action is huge when you're talking about the safety for life.
Yeah, in spiritual world and probably other worlds, we talk about the difference between reacting and responding. And that's the core of this practice. And it's the practice that leads you from disconnecting with a reaction. Reactions are just automatic. They're just there. We learn them as habits and patterns from when we were children. And so being aware of that reaction and how do we turn it into a response?
Yep. That's a whole episode in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, friends, share with us this week. We would love to hear how you pressed the pause button. Share a story with us. Let us know how it was helpful for you. We would love to hear from you. And let's give a little teaser of upcoming week 13 is called Enough. Nancy, can you give a little quick teaser on what that is?
Sure. We live in a life that is often talked about as scarcity. And the real question is not what we don't have, but what is enough. And often we can find out that we do have enough. It's another way of reframing.
Yeah, so important. I can't wait to get into that one. But for now, thank you for joining us for this week's Roots of Growth. We hope today's practice gave you a pause, a breath, a gentle rooting in what truly matters. Don't forget to try this week and share on social media with hashtag Roots of Growth. Nancy, so good to spend time with you today. And listeners, we hope you got a lot out of this.
Thank you, Jessica.